Mm. All right. Okay. So I'm gonna get started here. Okay, so I got to share with you, as I shared with all of my other classes, what I did over the weekend. I went to SF Hacks. So Jeremiah was there, Michael was there. There was one of you who was there too. Let's see, where was he? Nope. No, but there was one more person who was not, who did not go as a team, who went as a single person. So, that student had to team up with other people who did not have a team at the time. So it was kind of interesting. So do you guys want to kind of start with your observation of SF Hacks? What do you think? I don't want to put you on the spot, so if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine too. It was fun. Okay, very good. So SF Hacks, this is the website. How many people have never been to a hackathon? Okay, so I would say the majority of this class has not been to a hackathon, and this is basically one of many hackathons that have been organized around here and also the Bay Area. So when you look at the word, hackathon, it actually has a very broad meaning. Okay, so if you look up hackathon and just look at this one here, okay? So it basically just, it's a sprint-like event. It's a 24-hour sprint where you can sleep, but you're not really expected to sleep. Did you guys sleep at all?
I slept for like 3 hours.
You slept for 3 hours. Michael did not sleep. I took micro naps, okay? Even though I was not in a team, I only took micro naps. Devin did not sleep at all. Devin is in the other team, so he did not sleep at all, and he only slept after the whole event was done and before he had to drive back to Sacramento. So it's a 24-hour thing, and typically it involves coding, but sometimes it also involves other stuff like design. UX, UI, UX was actually one of the many areas that got an award this time in SF Hacks. So the team who can design the best user interface and user experience, actually gets recognized for that too. It's really kind of interesting because on one hand, it's kind of like for promoting the art of programming and the art of writing applications and whatnot. But on the other hand, when you apply or when you register, there's a little checkbox that says, okay, by checking this, you're allowing our sponsors to have access to your information, okay? And they are really using this opportunity to hire people, or at least to identify people who may potentially be good employees, okay? So can you guys tell me what you would think as a good employee if you're running a high-tech, firm, kind of like Google, Facebook, that sort of a firm. So if you are a hiring manager, okay, pretend that you are a hiring manager, what do you think would make a good employee? Yep.
What it sounds is like they want a workaholic.
They want workaholics who do not even know that they're workaholics. Yes, yeah. Someone who can work well in a group, okay, on top of that, yes? Diverse set of skills, okay, so we are getting closer to what I think would be a very important trait. Anyone else? Yep.
Fast and efficient.
Someone who is fast. Now define fast at what? You're getting very close.
Yeah, at the coding.
Fast at coding and also flexible to pick up stuff. Exactly. That is what they're looking for, okay? This particular hackathon, SF Hacks, was really open-ended. So they don't even put a restriction of, oh, you have to make use of this, you have to make use of that. These are the ingredients, make something fun out of it. They just said, go, do something, okay? Impress us, okay? Which is not, I don't think it's a very typical kind of hackathon, because in some of the other hackathons, they will actually give you restrictions. Like you have to use this particular blah, blah, blah API, or you have to use this particular blah, blah, blah tool, and so on. So that people cannot go in with a half-finished project and only use that one extra day to finish it. Do you see what I mean? Because that would defeat the whole purpose of a hackathon, which is basically you go in, you don't know what you're supposed to do, you don't know what tools you're supposed to use, and so on and so forth, and you have to learn all of that in a day and be able to make something that is impressive. Okay? I think that is what the industry is shifting. Think about this hiring scenario, okay? So pretend that you're a hiring manager, you're in an interview, and across from the table is a student from UC Berkeley, okay? And the student has got a straight A, like 4.0, GPA from Berkeley, has participated in some of the club activities and whatnot, spotless, in terms of grades and whatnot, okay? As a hiring manager, I would go like, well, that's kind of impressive. I will call you back when I make up my mind, okay? In other words, I'm not going to rule that person out straight, right off. But at the same time, I won't hire that person right away either. So next person comes in, let's say that person comes from San Jose State University with a GPA of 3.2, 3.3, okay, not exactly 100%. But that person says, well, I try every year to go to at least 2 or 3 of the hackathons, and these are the things that have won, show pictures and videos of, actually being awarded those, particular things, and then show the source code of, this is what, I have been doing, okay? And then on top of that, be able to explain the source code and tell me that, oh yeah, for all of these projects, I have to use GitHub to kind of coordinate with my teammates in terms of revision control, and then what I learned from all of these things is how to deal with the back end of a lot of different types of APIs and whatnot. I think I will hire that person right away. I won't give that person a chance to move on to the next table. Because that is, I think, what the industry is looking for, okay? So what is an API? Does anyone want to kind of, you guys know what an API is, but what is an API? Go ahead.
I don't know, like the abbreviation of what they want to do.
Well, API is a term that has been around for a long time, way before the cloud became, popular. So API stands for Application Programming Interface, okay? Which in the past only refers to like class definitions, okay? So when you look at the quote-unquote API of Android, for instance, okay, it's a whole huge collection of classes where, you have windows, you have buttons, you have all kinds of stuff, and then the inheritance architecture is also a part of the API. But when we talk about API these days, when it comes to cloud stuff, the API is really referring to how do you contact that server so that you can use a program to do certain things with that server? Okay, so for the most part, I would say the majority of the time we use the word API these days, it is referring to a web API, not so much of a GUI API like the majority in the past. So what kind of API are we talking about? Let's talk about things that have a user front end, so that you can actually, as a person, interact with that resource. Lyft, right? L-Y-F-T, you can order a ride, okay? So you guys all know how to install the app and get a ride and stuff like that. But they also have an API, which means another program, okay? Not necessarily a mobile app, but another resource, another program running on a server somewhere in the cloud can actually do the same thing. They can order a ride. They can find out, what is the when the closest Lyft car can get to a particular location. They can figure out, how much it will cost from a particular place to another place at a particular time of the day. Okay, so why would you want to have an API like that? Why do you think Lyft wants to open up their surface so that another server, another program can interact with it. Sorry? Data collection? From whose perspective? From Lyft's own perspective? Well, they don't need to open it up for other people to see them, right? Because opening up that API is going to expose certain things about Lyft. Yep.
Someone might make something that's pretty innovative.
Okay, so Lyft may become a component of a quote-unquote app, right? So when I use the word app, I'm not referring to a mobile app that you install. I'm referring to a way of using the cloud or computational resources. It can be a desktop, can be through the browser, can be a specific app, okay? Can be SMS. SMS. How does SMS get into this conversation? That's pretty old tech stuff, right? I mean, we are talking about 5G now, and tech is talking about SMS texting. Well, as it turns out, that's one of the things on SF Hacks. So I'll show you this website here. So Twilio, let's see, nope, Twilio, there we go. So Twilio is a scalable, managed, basically phone interface. Is that the right one? Nope. Huh? Nope, that's not the one. That's not Twilio. I click on the wrong link. Click on the advertisement. There we go. So this is Twilio. Okay. So Twilio is it allows you to have a phone number that is going to a server. So someone can text that phone number, and it will in return generate a post request as to a server that you choose. Okay. Sounds pretty simple, right? It also has an API that allows your code to send out a text to whatever number you want to send out to. In other words, instead of having a person, doing the texting, you're now saying that, oh, I can write a script to receive, process, and respond to text. Why is that useful? Yep.
For example, polls. I know there's a radio station locally that has something similar.
Yep. You can use it for tech support. Okay, you can use it for notification of all kinds of stuff. Now, you might want to think and go like, why do I want to use SMS for notification? Because most of the mobile platforms allows an app to create a little icon on the top, right? What happens when you have installed 20 or 30 apps and each one has its own notification? I mean, Pokemon Go has its own notification now. Yes? Exactly, because if every app has its own notification, you won't have enough space on the top of your cell phone for all of those icons anymore. Like it happens all the time on my phone. And it drains your battery too, exactly. So if the notification can come in the form of an SMS text, then it consolidates, right, with all of the other SMS text that you are already interacting with, okay? Does SMS require 3G, 4G, or 5G connections? Does not require data. So that means there are places where data may not reach reliably, but it will still be capable of SMS. Older phones cannot do 3G or 4G or 5G, but they can still text. So when you're talking about texting, it can reach more people, okay? So this kind of back end, okay, allows people to think about applications, ways to use a computer, ways to use a cell phone in a way that is not web-based. You don't need an app. You don't need even a browser. You just need to use SMS text to do something. So between this and Lyft, you can already kind of think of ways to use, combine those two APIs. So instead of using the Lyft app or a website or a web browser to order Lyft, you can think about, hey, I want to be able to use SMS to order Lyft. Okay? Not a very innovative kind of thing, but it does combine two things that are kind of like, what does this have to do with that? Well, now they relate. Does it make sense? Okay? So what does API programming look like when we talk about resources like that? So we can look at Twilio. I keep mistyping it. API examples. I actually have some bookmarks already saved, but I somehow lost those. Okay, doesn't seem to be. Okay, it's just a slow. I might still have it up somewhere, but I can't find it. Okay, Twilio. Why is it so slow? Okay. Anyway, some my search engine or my internet connection could be, it's just kind of slow. But if you go through the solutions or you through their tools, they will tell you how to program using these so-called APIs. Now, when you use these APIs, you can basically think about all the programs that you have written in cisp310, 400, and 430. The way you write your programs, these apps are completely different. Well, I wouldn't say completely, but it's very different from the way you usually think of how to write a program. Okay, think about this. You send a request to Lyft, okay, and you're asking, so when can the closest Lyft car get to this location? Okay, you send that request out. What are you next? What is your program going to do next? Wait, okay. How long do you think you have to wait? In other words, once you send the request to the Lyft server, okay, how long do you think it would take the Lyft server to reply to your request? 10 milliseconds, 20 milliseconds, 200 milliseconds. I mean, those are all within reason, right? If you're busy waiting, then you're burning all those cycles within these 200 milliseconds for nothing, right? So you don't want to do that. So you need a programming paradigm that is not sequential in a way anymore. You send a request and you say, okay, I'm going to go do something else, okay? But when I do get a reply, this is the code I want to run when I do get a reply. That's not the kind of programming that you guys are used to. It's not sequential in a way anymore. You do not express things that are in a particular order like the way you are used to in 360, 400, 430, and for the most part going to be in your 4-year university. You have to kind of break things up into this is what I'm doing. When I get a reply, I'll go do that. But right now, I'm going to serve another request or do something else. Okay, things become asynchronous at that point, and that's the kind of programming that has to be done a lot in these hackathons. So if you have not been to a hackathon before, I really recommend that people go to at least one of these just to know what it is, because it will give you an idea of what industry is looking for. That really is the value of going to a hackathon. They do not, the sponsors. Okay, let me go back to SF Hacks, because I want to explain the reason, the reasoning behind all of this. So if you click on sponsor,